The world was stunned. Newsrooms across the globe erupted in disbelief as the story broke, with anchors struggling to grasp the magnitude of what was unfolding before their eyes. The headline was almost unbelievable: China to build a $50 billion canal through Nicaragua. It was a project of staggering ambition, one that would rival the legendary Panama Canal and potentially reshape the map of global commerce. A little-known Chinese company stepped into the spotlight, proposing a massive waterway through the heart of Central America. This bold move directly challenged a century of established global trade routes, threatening to upend the status quo. Instantly, shipping stocks swung wildly. Investors and analysts scrambled to predict the impact, while policymakers in Washington rushed to assess the geopolitical stakes. The financial world was on edge, sensing a seismic shift. A Chinese-operated canal in America's backyard. For many, it felt like a plot straight out of the Cold War, but this was no fiction. It was happening in real time, and the implications were enormous. The Panama Canal Authority, having just completed its own major expansion, suddenly faced a formidable new rival. The region's dominance in global shipping was now under threat, and uncertainty loomed. Across Latin America, governments watched with a mix of hope and anxiety. Was this the dawn of a new era of investment and opportunity, or the beginning of a new kind of economic colonialism that could reshape their futures? The investment, 4 times Nicaragua's annual GDP, promised transformation on an unprecedented scale. For many Nicaraguans, it offered hope for jobs and development, but also raised fears of dependency and loss of control. The world held its breath. This was more than just an infrastructure project. It was a bold, strategic move to shift the global balance of power, with consequences that would ripple far beyond Central America. China was making a statement to the world. It was ready to fund and build projects on a scale once thought impossible, signaling its arrival as a true global superpower. The announcement was nothing short of a geopolitical earthquake, raising urgent questions about the future of trade, influence, and the shifting alliances of the 21st century. The aftershocks of this announcement would be felt for years, if not decades to come, reshaping not just trade, but the very nature of global power itself. The Nicaragua Canal was designed to dwarf the Panama Canal in every way. At 173 miles, it would be over 3 times longer, requiring the movement of 5 billion cubic meters of earth. Its width and depth would allow the world's largest ships, too big for Panama, to pass through. The canal promised a shortcut for megaships, saving days of travel and thousands of miles. The plan called for a channel up to 520 meters wide, 30 meters deep, cutting through Lake Nicaragua. This would be one of the largest earth-moving operations in history, using advanced machinery and a massive workforce. The vision to become the new superhighway for global shipping, rendering Panama secondary. It wasn't just an upgrade, it was a complete reimagining of transoceanic trade. The Nicaragua Canal was pitched as the canal of the future, built for a new era of megaships and Asian manufacturing. The ambition was clear: to forever alter the arteries of global commerce. For many Nicaraguans, the canal was a beacon of hope, a promise to end poverty and transform the nation. President Ortega's government spoke of hundreds of thousands of jobs and a leap into prosperity. In rural villages, people dreamed of steady work, new schools, and modern hospitals. But beneath the optimism, fear spread. The canal's route cut through fertile farmland, rainforests, and indigenous lands. Law 840 gave the Chinese company sweeping powers to seize land, with little compensation. For many, the project meant forced displacement and the loss of everything they knew. The nation split. Some saw opportunity, others saw a foreign takeover. The canal became a symbol of conflict, pitting neighbor against neighbor. The government's vision of unity was overshadowed by the reality of division and fear. For those in the path, the dream was a nightmare. The promise of prosperity came at the cost of home, heritage, and peace. At the center was Wang Jing, a Chinese telecom billionaire with no experience in mega infrastructure. As CEO of HKND Group, he held a 50-year concession to build and operate the canal. Wang claimed the project was privately funded, with no direct Chinese government involvement. Few believed him. The scale and strategic value made a purely private venture seem implausible. Wang's business ties hinted at connections to the Chinese state, fueling suspicion. The project's financing was opaque. No investors were named, and the money never materialized. Many suspected Beijing was the true backer, using Wang as a front for strategic ambitions. If the canal succeeded, China would benefit. If it failed, Beijing could deny involvement. The lack of transparency and oversight raised alarms about sovereignty and accountability. Nicaragua handed vast power to a foreign billionaire with a murky background. The real question, was this Wang Jing's dream or Beijing's plan? The canal was just the beginning, a blueprint for a new Nicaragua. The plan included 2 deepwater ports, free trade zones, a new airport, and a network of roads and bridges. The vision, a self-contained economic ecosystem, attracting global manufacturing and logistics. HKND would build and operate this infrastructure for at least 50 years, creating a state within a state. For a government desperate for growth, it was an irresistible all-in-one solution. Doubts quickly mounted. Environmentalists warned that dredging Lake Nicaragua could devastate the ecosystem and contaminate drinking water. Rainforests and wetlands, home to endangered species, were at risk. Economists questioned the canal's financial logic. Was there enough shipping demand to justify the cost? The lack of transparent funding only deepened skepticism. Law 840 gave HKND sweeping control over Nicaraguan land, exempting it from taxes and regulations. Critics argued the government had signed away sovereignty, creating a foreign-controlled enclave. Opposition grew. Environmentalists, human rights groups, and business leaders demanded answers. The dream of prosperity was now shadowed by fears of bankruptcy, environmental disaster, and lost independence. Public opinion began to turn against the canal. The canal was never just about economics, it was a geopolitical flashpoint, a crossroads where the ambitions of nations collided. For over a century, the control of these waterways shaped the balance of power in the Americas and beyond. It threatened Panama's near monopoly on transoceanic shipping, a symbol of U.S. power for over a century. The canal was not just a route for ships, but a lifeline for global commerce and a testament to American engineering and influence. The U.S. saw a Chinese-operated canal in Nicaragua as a strategic threat, one that could undermine its dominance in the region and open the door to foreign influence just south of its borders. Panama had just expanded its canal, but Nicaragua's plan targeted even larger ships, promising to reshape global shipping routes and potentially shift economic power in Central America. The stage was set for a canal war, U.S.-backed Panama versus Chinese-backed Nicaragua. Tension simmered as both sides maneuvered for advantage, each seeing the canal as a key to regional supremacy. For China, the canal offered a secure Atlantic route and a foothold in America's backyard, a rare opportunity to project power and secure its growing trade interests far from home. It was a bold move in the global chess game, projecting Chinese influence into a region long dominated by Washington. The arrival of Chinese investment and expertise signaled a new era of competition. U.S. officials publicly downplayed the project, but privately worried about its implications. Behind closed doors, they debated how to respond to this unprecedented challenge. A Chinese canal could challenge U.S. economic interests and even have military consequences, raising fears of a new front in the ongoing rivalry between the world's 2 superpowers. The project highlighted shifting global power dynamics, as old alliances were tested and new ones formed in response to the changing landscape. The U.S., once unchallenged in Latin America, now faced a direct rival. The region was no longer America's exclusive sphere of influence. China was using economic might to win influence and reshape the region, investing billions in infrastructure and forging new partnerships with eager governments. The Nicaragua Canal became a symbol of the new era of superpower rivalry, a contest not just for trade, but for the future of global order in the 21st century. As excitement faded, opposition surged, led by those directly in the canal's path. Tens of thousands of farmers, indigenous leaders, and rural residents organized protests. Their message: the canal threatened their land, water, and way of life. Ortega, vende patria. Ortega, seller of the homeland, became their rallying cry. Nearly 100 marches and demonstrations drew international attention. The government responded with police crackdowns and media attacks, but the movement grew. Environmentalists, economists, and human rights groups joined in, amplifying the dissent. The fight became a global symbol: local communities versus mega development. The world watched as ordinary people stood up to power, demanding respect for their rights and the environment. The canal's fate was now as much about people as about politics or profit. It was David versus Goliath in the heart of Central America. In December 2025, more than a decade has passed, and the Nicaragua Canal remains unbuilt. A grand vision that never left the drawing board, a dream that lingers only on paper. The promised machinery and workforce, once the subject of bold announcements and hopeful anticipation, never arrived. The $50 billion in funding, once touted as a game-changer for Nicaragua's future, simply vanished, leaving behind only questions and disappointment. Wang Jing's fortune collapsed, and HKND, the company that promised transformation, faded quietly from view, its offices now empty and silent. The fields and forests remain untouched. Lake Nicaragua is safe, for now. The natural beauty endures, spared from the scars of construction. For the protesters, it's a hard-won victory, a testament to years of resistance and hope. Yet Law 840 still casts a long shadow over their triumph. The nation remains divided, scarred by broken promises, mistrust, and the lingering effects of a project that never materialized. The Canal Saga is a cautionary tale. Unchecked ambition, ignored human rights, and environmental risks can derail even the grandest plans, leaving communities to pick up the pieces. It exposed the vulnerabilities of small nations facing massive foreign investment and the delicate balance between hope for progress and fear of exploitation. The project showed that determined opposition, fueled by unity and conviction, can halt even the most audacious schemes, no matter how powerful the backers. The dream of a second canal may return one day, but for now, it stands as a silent monument to both ambition and resistance, a reminder of what was almost lost. It's a reminder that history is shaped not just by powerful men and grand designs, but by the courage and determination of ordinary people who refuse to be silenced. The future remains unwritten, a landscape of faded dreams, lingering uncertainty, and the hope that lessons learned will guide what comes next. The world is left to ponder what might have been, what was narrowly avoided, and what still could be in the years ahead.